friends. This is SMS Life, Sound Mind, Sound Life. In each podcast, we bring you something invaluable about lives. In this podcast, let us explore group dynamics. Throughout literacy history, authors have been fascinated by the conduct of people in groups, and countless novels have been written about people who find themselves thrown together by a long trip, or a shipwreck, or some nuclear disaster of the future. The novels are based on one of the central facts of social psychology, that in any group, some kind of social structure will be formed very quickly. Human groups seem to form and organize themselves as naturally and spontaneously as crystals in a solution of chemicals or mold formations on a piece of bread. Almost automatically, someone in the group rises to the top status and becomes the acknowledged leader. There will be co-leaders and sub-leaders, perhaps, and followers of decreasing status down to the lowliest. There may be a court jester who amuses the group and a scapegoat whom the others pick on. The forces that operate in a group to produce leaders and to bring about other alignments, decisions, and activities are called group dynamics. The study of group dynamics is one of the most fascinating subfields of social psychology, though it is often frustrating to investigators because there are many kinds of groups, made up of many different kinds of individuals operating under different circumstances and seeking different goals. Communication within the group. One generality about groups that can be made with some confidence is that their structure and dynamics depend in large part on the communication system among their members. What happens in the group is largely determined by who talks to whom and how much. Moreover, the pattern of communication within groups seems to follow a general rule. Unless there is some kind of artificial restraint, one person in the group does a great deal of talking, one does a very little, and the others fall somewhere in between. Study shows how this fact has been demonstrated by observing the behavior of a group of 4 to 8 people. Note that in every case, the person who was most communicative did almost exactly 40% of the talking, while the others, whether they numbered 3, 5, or 7, split the remaining 60% among them. In the groups of 6 and 8, the least communicative member did almost no talking at all. Almost always, the most talkative member of the group is also its leader. This is because leadership can be defined in terms of influence. The leader is the person who has the most influence on the decisions and behavior of other members of the group. And of course, the person who talks the most is naturally the one who sets the subject matter and tone of the group's discussions, makes the most suggestions about decisions and activities, and if the situation calls for it, issues orders. So close is the relationship between communication and leadership that it is possible by artificially controlling the lines of communication within a group to make it extremely likely that a certain individual will become the leader regardless of his own personal characteristic. The study shows the results of a new study of 3 kinds of communications networks in 5-member groups. Note that the person who was in the most central position in the network was the most likely to become the acknowledged leader. In another experiment, university students who did not know one another were placed in 4-man discussion groups. During the first discussion period, the experimenter let nature take its course. In each group, as the general rule would predict, one person did most of the talking, and afterward, was rated high for leadership by the others. Also, in each group, 1 or 2 students did little talking and were rated low on leadership. During the next discussion period, however, the experimenter controlled the amount of talking done by each student by manipulating lights on a panel visible only to that particular student. He flashed a green light to encourage the student to talk or a red light to discourage him from speaking further. The lights were manipulated to encourage a student who had been uncommunicative during the first session and to discourage the 3 others. As the formerly quiet student began speaking up more and more, the others changed the rating of his leadership ability from low to high. The experiment might indicate that a person can take over leadership of a group simply by making a deliberate effort to talk a lot. But this is true only within limits. The person who tries to dominate the conversation in a group is soon silenced by the other members unless his comments make good sense and contribute something to the group's activities. Leadership cannot be established through mere babbling. Have a nice day. Thanks for listening.